Welcome to Reparenting Radio. I'm Lisa Watson, architect of human transformation. This is a space for leaders, parents, and anyone ready to break old patterns, regulate their nervous system, and show up in their life with clarity and self-trust. If you're ready to change the way you lead, parent, love, and live, you're in the right place. Let's begin. Welcome back to Reparenting Radio. Today we're exploring a human experience that every single one of us has, even the most grounded, successful, emotionally intelligent adults. But most people don't have the language for it. Sometimes you hear it called triggers. It's the moment when something small hits something old, and your body reacts in a way that doesn't match the situation. You tense or withdraw or defend or shut down or over-explain. Maybe you feel like it matches the situation, but you're not regulated. And maybe suddenly you feel younger inside, even though you logically know that you're an adult. Or maybe you don't notice that you're feeling younger inside at all. But afterwards, you find yourself thinking, why did that get to me? Why did I freeze? Why did I react like I was 10? Or maybe you're still at the phase of completely thinking that it's still the person outside of you. Why did they do that? Why did they make me feel that way? Why am I a victim? Either way, whatever stage you're at, whatever level of awareness you are at right now is perfect for you. But the trigger, the sense of feeling younger, acting younger, the emotional dysregulation, this is called emotional regression. It's what happens when the inner child takes over the adult body because authenticity feels unsafe. And it's activating a fight, flight, freeze, or fawn response that once protected you. ER, emotional regression, is the opposite of RE parenting. ER is the younger self leading, and RE, what I do, the RE method, is the adult self taking leadership back. When emotional regression happens, you're not reacting from who you are today, you're reacting from who you had to be back then. And this doesn't make you weak, it makes you human. It shows up everywhere. It shows up in relationships, in parenting, in friendships, at work, in conflict, in leadership, in moments of rejection or disappointment, and especially with people who matter to us, especially there in the relationships that are closest to us. So today, we're going to break it down. And I want to explore what emotional regression really is, why it shows up, why parents can lead teams effortlessly but panic when their child is upset, why leaders can handle rejection at work but feel destabilized at home, how to recognize when a younger part of you has taken the wheel. We're going to talk about how to bring your adult self back online with compassion, not shame, and how reparenting becomes the path to emotional sovereignty. So this episode blends psychology, nervous system science, attachment, and a gentle touch of quantum. So let's start with clarity and what emotional regression really is. Traditional psychology describes emotional regression as a temporary return to an earlier developmental state in response to stress. Wow, that sounds so human. Useful, but it's kind of incomplete. Here's how I define it. Emotional regression is when a younger inner child part takes over your adult self because something in the present moment feels emotionally unsafe. Even if your adult mind knows that it is safe. This is not immaturity. This is survival psychology. Your younger parts, the ones who learned, I'm only safe if I'm good, I'm only safe if they're happy with me, I'm only safe if I don't upset anyone, I'm only safe if I disappear, I'm only safe if I fix things, I'm only safe if I'm chosen. I don't know about you, but I feel that. My inner child feels those programs. This is how we grew up. Those parts can still run the show today. And we now see that there's nothing wrong with us. It was just our programming. It was just the things we were taught to believe about how we were supposed to make everybody around us comfortable, like it was our responsibility, so we had to abandon ourselves. Your body remembers even when your mind forgets. And in an emotional, and then system says danger. This feels like something that hurt before. This doesn't feel safe. I've given the example many times in other podcasts about how it's that 3-year-old that grabbed the red Sharpie and started drawing on the couch and then was punished for it. And how because of their point of view, their lack of a prefrontal cortex, and the ability to emotionally regulate themselves or understand that anything is even outside of them, that isn't because of them, when they're shamed and blamed and disconnected from their caregiver for being their authentic self, drawing on a white, beautiful surface, they have to disconnect from their authenticity in order to survive, to be safe, to be loved again. They can't understand the act and the anger logically like an adult. They just know, I'm wrong, I'm bad. I have to change to be accepted. This is why we get triggered. We experience emotional regression because it's triggering that part of us that didn't feel safe. So what happens is, when you don't feel safe, what happens? You go into fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. It's natural protection. Your nervous system doesn't know how old you are, that you're an adult, what year it is. It believes it's still back where this original threat happened. It becomes a repeated loop until you go back to that moment and tell that part of you that experienced that with that lack of prefrontal cortex, that inner child, you say, hey, we're safe. Come on up here with me. You validate the experience and you bring them up there with you. Because fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, these aren't choices. They're reflexes. And the key is, the reaction is old. The moment is new. The body doesn't know the difference. That's emotional regression. If emotional regression were about stress, you would regress in every stressful situation, but you don't. ER is relationally specific, meaning you regress where you once felt unsafe being fully authentic yourself. And for some people, it's with their romantic partner, their mother, their father, their sibling, maybe a boss, a mentor, a teenager, a business partner, or a driver on the road. Other people, they're triggered into ER because of certain tones of disappointment, anger, disapproval, confusion, coldness, withdrawal, pressure. Those things really have an impact on the inner child and bring us right back to those unsafe states. I have worked through so many of those. I'm sitting here thinking, oh my gosh, I just saw my life flash before my eyes there. But a leader can hear no from 200 investors, but when their spouse says no, sometimes it just hits a childhood wound. A parent can handle chaos at work, but when their teenager pulls away, it activates their own fear of abandonment. And a team leader can communicate clearly in meetings, but when someone raises their voice, they regress into freeze. Or they can't set a boundary with their husband at home. ER doesn't happen when you're failing. It happens when you're attached. Your inner child doesn't care about your job title or your success. It cares about belonging, safety, approval, connection, predictability, and emotional attunement. And ER shows up in the places that matter the most. Leaders can handle rejection at work, but often, they can't handle it at home. And this is the moment where we have to lean forward and say, oh my God, this explains everything. At work, we're often operating from a highly competent, highly practiced adult self. We control the environment, we choose the team, we set the rules, we understand the metrics, and we navigate uncertainty with strategy, not emotion. But at home, maybe we're dealing with attachment, not KPIs, intimacy, not performance, and unpredictability, not strategy. Long-term emotional patterns, not deliverables. Vulnerability, not vision. The inner child doesn't get activated by a boardroom. It gets activated by the fear of detachment that still lives. Work rejection is data. Relationship rejection is danger. And that's the difference. A no from a client might feel neutral, and a no from a partner might feel life-threatening because your nervous system stored the emotional memory of unsafe no's long before you had a voice. And your inner child didn't get rejected by clients at age 8. It got rejected by people it depended on. That's where ER comes from. And parents, why do we panic, parents, when our child's upset? Often we're like, I can handle stress at work just fine. Why can't I stay calm with my kids? Because your child's dysregulation activates your oldest wounds. If your childhood taught you I'm responsible for other people's emotions, anger is dangerous, if someone's upset, then I failed, and someone's silence means I'm in trouble, then your child's big feelings won't stay in the present moment. Your body will react from the past. This is why parents yell, they shut down, they overcorrect. They remove privileges too fast, they panic, they become rigid, they crumble, they over-explain, they withdraw. It's not who they are as adults. It's the child's state reaction they learned long ago. Parenting is the ultimate mirror. It reveals every unhealed place inside of us, and this is where reparenting becomes the bridge between who we are, who we became, and who we want to be. But how do we know when the inner child truly has taken the wheel? How can we learn to recognize it? Well, some clear signs are that your reaction is bigger than the moment. Something small feels like a threat. In hindsight, because in the moment you're going to feel like it's big. But in hindsight, was that something small that really I had a bigger reaction to than needed? And then sometimes you switch into black and white thinking. It's all or nothing, always or never. If you start talking like that with arguments with your spouse, you're coming from your inner child. It's time to take a break. You always, you never. Your voice changes. It gets higher, or it gets lower, or it gets softer, or maybe you really yell. Also, another sign is when you lose your language, like you can't articulate what you feel. I find that happens when you've moved into freeze mode. Along with this emotional regression comes fight, flight, freeze, or fawn typically. And from my experience, whatever we're prone to, I tend to gear toward freeze. Some people gear towards fawn or flight or fight, any of them. Another sign is that you panic about losing connection, even when no one's leaving. Like you just are that person who is afraid their boyfriend or girlfriend's going to break up, or I'm going to lose them and they're going to walk away and they're not going to love me. If you start feeling that, you're in your inner child. And when you can't access your adult tools, like all your logic and everything you know just kind of vanishes. You don't feel like you're in control. And maybe you feel shame or you feel fear really fast, like an instant emotional flooding of shame or fear comes over you. Definitely in your inner child then. Or you replay the moment over and over and over again after. Oh my goodness, my brain used to work that way. I remember it. It's exhausting. But you're trying to fix it. You're trying to undo it. You're trying to rationalize it. You're trying to understand it. You just stay there in it. Or you feel like you've just been taken over, like something inside stepped forward before you could stop it. And that's exactly what happened. A younger emotional age responded for you. And recognizing this about ourselves from a point of observation without shame is the beginning of emotional adulthood and emotional intelligence and healing and all of it. Nervous system regulation. So we just talked about recognizing it. Okay, now we've recognized it. How do we bring that adult self back online? How do we regulate? It's one thing to know that these things happen. It's another thing to be able to grab the reins or the steering wheel and steer yourself out of it. So this is where the reparenting method and the reveal mirror method that I use really shines, because emotional regression is the younger self leading. And reparenting, revealing is the adult self taking leadership back. So here we're going to talk about 5 steps to getting your adult self back online and actually closing these loops so they stop happening. Number 1 is awareness. We have to name what's happening. I'm in emotional regression. I'm being triggered. Whatever language feels good for you. I'm in my inner child. A younger part of me is online. This alone will interrupt the pattern. Once you bring awareness to it, you're like, I'm triggered. You're now conscious. You're not running an autopilot anymore. Once you name it. That's the hugest step right there, number 1. Number 2 is attunement. You speak internally to that part of you. That child part. Just connect. I see why this feels big. I know why you're scared. We felt powerless when we used to get yelled at. We were forced to do things we didn't want to do. We felt disconnected. We felt lonely. We felt abandoned. We didn't feel listened to. Whatever that feeling was when you were younger, you're allowed to feel it without having to be angry at your parents or your caregivers. You just acknowledge it. And then you let it go. All you need to do is validate the feeling and acknowledge it. And let the inner child know, I'm here now. You're safe. We're an adult now, and I've got you. So step 3 is safety. It's regulating the body. We need to take, a nice few deep breaths, relax our shoulders. I love to feel my feet on the ground. I just move my toes around and I feel the floor. Sometimes I wiggle my fingers and I just feel into my body. I'm like, I'm in my body. I'm here. Lengthen the spine. Stand nice and tall. Get in your body. You're the keeper of this avatar. Bring it back online. Take control. Show it I'm here. I'm showing up for you. I got you. Stand straight. Be proud. Safety is a physiological message. It's not a thought. You step in. It's a feeling. You take over. I got you. And then we reassign leadership right there. We stepped into the inner child, we rescued her, we validated her, we told her, him or her safe, and then we step into reassigning leadership. And this is the most important step. Well, I don't know. I say that they're all important, but second to awareness. You say to yourself, you don't have to handle this alone. I got you, right? I got you. You're safe now. And then the last step is re-expression, adult response. Now that your adult self is back online, you can respond differently. And you don't have to have the conversation. Maybe your nervous system is still dysregulated, but your adult self is back online. Both those things can happen at the same time. But now that your adult self's back online, you can say, hey, I'm going to take a break from this conversation right now, or I need to step out of the room, or what is it that you need? Assess your needs, assess your choices, and then take action with a clear mind, a curious mind, a less defensive stance. Become emotionally sovereign. This is high-level emotional maturity. It's not perfection, it's presence. It's learning how to move through our emotions. They're not going anywhere. We're not trying to get rid of them, and we're not trying to get rid of the ego either, but that's another podcast. We are integrating. We are healing. We are becoming one with. We're taking back the leadership role of this avatar that we're in. And when you stop regressing, when emotional regressions become conscious, everything in your life changes. In relationships, you stop personalizing everything. Oh my gosh, the freedom, I'm telling you. You communicate with clarity. You stop overfunctioning. You stop chasing or shutting down. You stay present. And in parenting, your child's emotions will stop overwhelming you. You model what safety looks like. You respond instead of react, and you break cycles because you remembered that you are the one that can reprogram yourself. You are the one that keeps your inner child feeling safe by the dialogue you're having. And you start speaking to yourself like the parent you never had or wished that you had. The past doesn't exist. The present moment is all we have. So if we tell ourselves what the truth is over and over and over again, this is programming. We're rewriting the disempowering beliefs. We're regulating our nervous system permanently. This isn't a Band-Aid. This isn't a formula. It's a cure. And in your internal world, you like who you're becoming. You feel safe inside your own presence. You trust your adult self to lead your life. You stop disappointing yourself. You start looking out for yourself. You remember that you're in charge. And you stop playing the scripts that were downloaded into you when you were younger. And that people disappointed you, and you weren't safe to be your authentic self, and you weren't listened to, and you weren't valued, and you weren't allowed to feel. You're allowed to do all those things now. We don't have to keep replaying the past. We can reparent ourselves today. You're free. Emotional regression doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're human. And every adult carries younger parts inside of them. Not because there's something wrong, but that's just how these avatars work at the end of the day. Those parts once protected you when you didn't have the tools that you have now, when you didn't have the prefrontal cortex developed. The work is not to get rid of them. The work is to lead them, to reparent them, to integrate, to let your adult self become the one who chooses your responses, your boundaries, your truth, and your relationships, and the quality of your life. So the next time you find yourself reacting in a way that feels younger than you are, ask, who inside me is trying to run this moment, and what do they need from me? Because when your adult self becomes the leader, everything changes. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here with me. You're not reacting from who you are, you're reacting from who you had to be. And through reparenting, you finally get to become who you were always meant to be. So see you next week. Thank you for listening to Reparenting Radio. If today's conversation supported you, subscribe, leave a review, or share it with someone who knows they were made for more than the patterns they inherited. If you're ready for serious inner work and a committed transformation, personally or professionally, visit lisa-watson.com to explore my private and founder pathways. And for the little ones learning beside you, explore my children's books at awakentheone.org. Until next time, stay grounded, stay open, and keep reparenting the parts of you that are longing to come home to your authenticity.